Today I'm talking about Google Drive organization for Realtors. I'm going to walk you through some organizational tips for managing your transactions and staying perfectly organized. Let's get started. If this is your first time visiting my channel, thanks so much for stopping by. My name is Carrie Jonicas and I am the proud owner and a transaction manager at Amplify Transaction Services. If you would like to learn more information about how we can help you, you can visit our website at www.amplifytransactions.com. Over to the computer so I can share those organizational tips for you to stay perfectly organized in your real estate business. Let's get started. If you are a beginner and you really have done nothing with Google Drive, the first thing I'd recommend is to navigate to drive.google.com and to create a clients folder inside of your Google Drive. To create a new folder, you'll click the new and then new folder. Inside of there, you'll want to create a folder for each client that you have. As a transaction manager, I label each of my folders as the property address and not the client's name, just because I am working mostly based on that transaction and that property and not the client. So I'm going to create a new folder in here. Let me just say the agent is Sally Smith. And inside of Sally's folder, I'm going to create another folder for the property address of 123 Main Street. And then inside of there is where I'm going to store all of the documents for that specific transaction. When I am saving the documents for that specific transaction, I am labeling my documents in a very specific way, which protects me if something, for instance, gets maybe put into the wrong folder. So say I accidentally save this document to another folder, I will easily be able to find where that document is because I am labeling it in a very specific way. This also helps if I'm searching for something later after the transaction already closes. I'm able to find that very easily. Sometimes I might remember the client's last name, sometimes I might remember the address, and so this protects in both of those ways. So I'm going to pull up a sample document, save it, and show you how I will be saving my documents. Okay, so this is an agreement to amend contract in North Carolina. And as you see here, this is a very broad name for a document. It really doesn't tell me much. So if I needed to search for something, that would be really hard to find that for that specific client. So I'm going to rename this by right-clicking, and I'm going to put the client's last name, the address, and then what the document is. So I'm going to say Smith, 123 Main Street, and then I'll just say ratified addendum. Okay, so I'm going to pretend that this was an addendum that was ratified for adding closing cost credits after we went through the due diligence period. So this is how all of my documents will be saved. The client's last name, the address, and then whatever the document is. This makes it very easy for you to search to see if you can find something later. Sometimes I'll have an agent that will come back to me later and they'll say, you know, on the Smith file, can you pull me up the ratified addendum for the closing cost credit? Well, I can search for Smith or I can search for ratified addendum for closing cost credit, and it will pull this up and I'll be able to find it. Maybe I don't remember what the address of that property was, but I know what the last name is, or vice versa. Maybe I know the address, but I don't know the client's last name. Then I have everything all in one and it makes it easy to search. Another tip that I have for you in organizing your Google Drive is to have a closed folder. So in the clients folder, I'll do this per client. So for me, I'm working as a transaction manager, so I have them per agent that I'm working with, but you might want just a closed folder for that year. So you're going to, in your clients folder, create a new folder that says closed and then the year that you closed it. So we're in 2024, so I'll do closed 2024. So then when that file or that transaction closes, I'm going to move that folder into the closed folder because I know that is no longer an active file. So unless there's an active file going on, I would have nothing in this client's folder other than the closed folder. Some of my clients use Google Drive to do their compliance. So their brokerage uses Google Drive and they just have to upload those documents into Google Drive. For those who are using Google Drive to do that, the nice thing about this is you can color code your folders, which is really nice because, you know, if they have gone to closing, you can change it green. If they're not closing, or maybe the terminated ones you make red, that makes it really easy to be able to see what is going on with those transactions in a quick glance. Another tip for using Google Drive is to use the starred. So if you're using something all the time, I would recommend that you star it. That way, if you want to get to something very quickly, you can click on the starred and get there very quickly. So you can go over, let's just say the clients folder. For instance, we're in the clients folder and we want to star that. We would just go to organized and then click add to starred. That would make that pop up when we click on our starred. You can also add this link to your favorites, which then would allow you a one click to get to your Google Drive to your clients folder. I do recommend that you are keeping everything in your Google Drive when it happens in the transaction. If you are working in Gmail, that makes it really easy to do because if you get an email that has a document that needs to go to Google Drive, you can click on that document and then have it add to your Google Drive. You can also insert files using your Google Drive, which also makes it very easy to import any documents that you need to send to anyone else from your Google Drive. And then my last tip, this isn't necessarily specific to Google Drive, but I highly recommend that you have an external hard drive that is also backing up this information. And then after a certain amount of years, you pull the items that are in that Google Drive and put them in that external drive. This is going to help you to keep room on your Google Drive without having to pay for additional storage. You will have to make one lump payment to pay for the device that will hold those documents on, but I definitely recommend purchasing that external hard drive to store those documents on because it can get very costly, especially if you are keeping copies of HOA bylaws, covenants, and then inspection reports. Those take up a lot of storage on your Google Drive and will fill you up very quickly. So since you have to hold real estate documents for a certain amount of years, you definitely want to keep that storage lower, and that is going to save you a lot of money by using that external hard drive as opposed to keeping it as a cloud storage. Now, of course, you wouldn't then be able to access it very easily through your Google Drive. You would have to go to that external drive to access those documents. But again, it saves you a lot of money to be able to do it that way as opposed to buying more storage through Google Drive.
Well, there you have it. Now you know how to organize your Google Drive for perfect organization. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to stay in the loop on all the tips and tricks of staying organized in your real estate business, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll see you on the next one.